Hello there, and welcome to another edition of WADR's Gender Program 50/50, broadcasting from West Africa Democracy Radio 94.9 FM in Dakar, Senegal. We are also live on our partner stations in Liberia, the Gambia, and Sierra Leone. If you're listening to us anywhere around the world via wadr.org, thank you for connecting with us. My name is Nadidi Teti, and I am the host of the program. 50/50 is a platform dedicated to discussing gender equality and equity, promoting equal opportunities for all genders, fostering an inclusive and women-friendly environment, and examining social issues from diverse perspectives to address the unique impacts on individuals of different genders. Today, we are shining the spotlight on a remarkable achievement in the fight for gender equality on the African continent. Côte d'Ivoire has emerged as the leading country in Africa in the fight against discrimination towards girls and women. This impressive milestone was revealed in a 2023 report of the Social Institutions and Gender Equality Index published by the Development Center of the Organization of Economic Cooperation and Development.
Alors, effectivement, nous sommes champions.
Thank you for the opportunity to address this topic. Indeed, we're proud of this recognition because in recent years, we have passed numerous laws related to women's rights. In particular, we focused on protecting women from violence, domestic abuse, and gender-based violence. We've revised our penal code, marriage laws, and more, making significant strides in safeguarding and improving women's conditions in Côte d'Ivoire.
We'll be diving deep into what this means for the country, the policies that have contributed to this success, and the impact on the lives of women and girls. Stay tuned as we explore how La Côte d'Ivoire has become a model for Africa in the fight for gender equity. And for today, it's a 2-in-1 show. So in the second part, we'll talk about a recently launched research project in Senegal focused on improving the involvement of rural and peri-urban women in climate change management through legal empowerment. We welcome your contributions via our WhatsApp number +221 78184541. Again, the number is +221 78184541. You can share your thoughts on our social media platforms. On X and Instagram, it's at WADR News. On Facebook, find us at West Africa Democracy Radio English Service. Please remember to begin your message with the hashtag 50/50. If you're not already following us, make sure to do so to stay updated on all our discussions and episodes. We also stream live on wadr.org. And to recap our handles, at WADR News on X and Instagram, and West Africa Democracy Radio English Service on Facebook.
Stay tuned. Your gender program 50/50 will be right back. And we are back. This is 50/50.
You're welcome once again to 50/50 with me, Nadidi Teti. Côte d'Ivoire's rise to the top of the rankings in the fight against gender-based discrimination is no small feat. The 2023 Social Institution and Gender Equality Index places the West African nation at the forefront of the continent, surpassing several other countries in its commitment to closing the gap. This report highlights the significant strides Côte d'Ivoire has made in dismantling social and institutional barriers that perpetuate inequality. From legislative reforms aimed at protecting women's rights to initiatives focused on increasing female representation in leadership roles, the country has become a beacon of progress. My colleague Esuli Jeju had a conversation with Madam Francine Aka-Angi, who is a lawyer at the Ivory Coast Bar and president of the Association of Women Lawyers of Côte d'Ivoire, AFJCI. Esoli first asked Madam Francine for her thoughts on Côte d'Ivoire being named the African champion in the fight against discrimination towards women and girls, surpassing Rwanda and South Africa, according to the 2023 Social Institutions and Gender Index report. Now, she also explored with her how this feat can be maintained and built upon, among several other issues.
Merci pour l'opportunité que vous me donnez de parler de ce sujet. Alors, effectivement, nous sommes champions.
Thank you for the opportunity to address this topic. Indeed, we're proud of this recognition because in recent years, we have passed numerous laws related to women's rights. In particular, we focused on protecting women from violence, domestic abuse, and gender-based violence. We've revised our penal code, marriage laws, and more, making significant strides in safeguarding and improving women's conditions in Côte d'Ivoire.
Nos textes sur le mariage, sur la création, etc. Donc vraiment, on peut être fier de ces différentes réformes-là qui ont été faites dans le but de protéger et d'améliorer la condition de la femme en Côte d'Ivoire.
So this recognition comes as no surprise.
Bon, dire qu'on s'y attendait, c'est un peu trop.
Not exactly. We haven't compared ourselves to other countries, but we're certainly not surprised. The extensive laws we've enacted regarding women's protection make this achievement understandable.
En matière de protection de la femme.
In your opinion, what are the key factors that contributed to this result?
Oui, il faut dire que la société civile y est pour beaucoup, hein. La société civile en matière de défense des droits de la femme est très dynamique en Côte d'Ivoire. Vous avez de nombreuses associations, ONG qui œuvrent dans cette matière, qui sont soutenues.
Civil society has played a major role. The women's rights movement in Côte d'Ivoire is very active, with numerous NGOs supported by international donors. One pivotal action was a study conducted by the Ivorian Women Lawyers Association in collaboration with partners, which reviewed all discriminatory laws. We highlighted provisions that were discriminatory and submitted a white paper to the authorities. This led to many laws being amended or introduced.
Nous avons passé donc en revue tous les textes de loi et on a fait ressortir les dispositions qui paraissaient discriminatoires, en tout cas à notre sens. Et nous avons remis un livre blanc donc aux autorités contenant toutes ces dispositions-là. Et on se rend compte que c'est sur la base en fait de ce document-là que beaucoup de textes de loi ont été ainsi modifiés ou adoptés.
Can you cite some examples of these discriminatory laws?
Oui, alors déjà on avait la disposition phare qui était dans la loi sur le mariage et qui disait que le mari
Yes. For example, there was a provision in the marriage law stating that the husband is the head of the family. This led to discrimination in areas like taxation and wages, as women's roles as wives or mothers weren't fully recognized. By eliminating the husband as head of family concept and introducing joint household management, we were able to amend many laws where men had previously held dominant roles. This critical change has been in place since 2013.
Ménage, ça a engendré du coup la modification de toute une autre série de textes dans lesquels en fait l'homme était prédominant en tant que chef de la famille. Donc ça c'est vraiment une disposition clé qui a été retiré de nos textes depuis 2013.
Now, I imagine that the Ivorian Women Lawyers Association also advocates for removing barriers to women's political participation.
Tout à fait. Nous avons aussi milité justement à une meilleure
Absolutely. We've worked towards increasing women's representation in politics. The 2016 Constitution established gender parity as a principle, and in 2019, a law was passed requiring that 30% of candidates in election lists be women. Although it took some time to implement, during the 2023 elections, we achieved 40% female candidates thanks to this law.
Mais aux dernières élections de 2023, on a pu obtenir grâce à cette loi 34% de candidatures féminines.
Côte d'Ivoire's success in fighting discrimination against women and girls is impressive. What impacts do you think this achievement will have on the broader fight for women's rights?
Oui, ce que ça nous apporte, c'est que on se rapproche à grands pas de l'égalité homme-femme. Hein,
This progress brings us closer to true gender equality. Our goal is to create a more balanced society with equal roles in governance, where women and youth are more involved. This recognition energizes our efforts and shows that our work is making a real difference.
Donc, ça nous encourage, dans nos actions sur le terrain et ça montre que nos actions ne sont pas vaines.
What more needs to be done to sustain and build on these efforts?
Exactement. Aujourd'hui, ce qu'il faut faire, c'est qu'il faut rendre vraiment effective l'application, parce qu'aujourd'hui, ces textes s'appliquent, mais ne sont pas encore suffisamment vulgarisés.
The key now is ensuring these laws are properly implemented. Although the laws exist, they are not yet widely known or applied. Many women are unaware of their rights. For example, they don't know that even within marriage, they can file complaints or request protection orders from judges.
Ne connaissent pas leurs droits, ne savent pas que même quand elles sont mariées, elles peuvent porter plainte, elles peuvent demander au juge une ordonnance de protection. Vous voyez, beaucoup de femmes ne savent pas en matière d'état civil qu'elles peuvent donner leur nom à leur enfant, en plus du nom de leur mari. Vous voyez, ce sont des exemples comme ça. Donc aujourd'hui,
similarly, many don't know that they can give their children both their surname and their husband's. To maintain our position and continue advancing, we need to focus on public awareness, legal education, and effective enforcement of the laws.
Et qui doit pouvoir vous dire, ben oui, moi j'ai le droit de ceci, j'ai le droit de cela. Voilà, alors que ce n'est pas encore le cas. Donc, il faut qu'on redouble d'efforts en matière de vulgarisation des textes, d'information et donc d'application effective.
And is that where the Ivorian Women Lawyers Association, alongside other NGOs, come in to advocate for women's rights?
Tout à fait. C'est une bataille de tous les jours. Et cette bataille-là, il faut la mener tous ensemble.
Exactly. It's an ongoing battle, and we need to work together. As lawyers, we know the laws can help educate and inform people, but there's still much to be done. Many women, especially in rural areas, are illiterate. We must work on education, compulsory schooling for girls, and improving women's reproductive health. There's a lot of work ahead.
L'école obligatoire pour les filles. Il faut, au niveau de la santé, il y a encore un travail à faire au niveau de la santé sexuelle reproductive. Il y a encore beaucoup à faire.
Does the Ivorian Women Lawyers Association engage directly with women to raise awareness on these rights? For example, regarding the law allowing women to give their children their surname, are there initiatives to help women understand these new rights and how they can benefit from them?
On est sur le terrain au quotidien. On a des cliniques juridiques sur toute l'étendue du territoire. En ce moment où je vous parle, j'ai des équipes qui sont un peu partout sur le territoire de Côte d'Ivoire et qui mènent des actions de sensibilisation, des caravanes.
Yes, we are actively working on the ground. We have legal clinics across the country, and teams are currently conducting awareness campaigns on legal caravans. We're present in many communities. What we really need now is more support from the states and local authorities. When local leaders join us in spreading the message, the impact is far greater.
S'implique, vous voyez, parce que pour faire passer les messages, quand ce sont les autorités locales elles-mêmes qui sont avec nous et qui font passer les messages en langue, qui s'impliquent, qui montrent l'exemple, c'est encore plus efficace, l'application est encore plus efficace.
Merci beaucoup, maître.
Merci à vous.
We saw the views of some Ivorians on the streets of Abidjan. This is what they had to say in relation to the latest survey that places Côte d'Ivoire at the top.
C'est déjà une très bonne nouvelle à encourager quand des années en arrière, l'on ne pouvait pas.
This is great news, showing the government's commendable progress. We hope other countries follow suit to achieve SDG 5 by 2030 and beyond.
Et on espère que d'autres pays vont nous emboîter le pas et permettre à ce que ce qui contribue à l'ODD 5 soit réellement réalisé à l'horizon 2030 et pourquoi pas bien au-delà.
Cela démontre.
Well, this demonstrates how the authorities in Côte d'Ivoire truly respect gender equality. It's a result of work done over time. I'm very pleased with it, and we really hope to maintain this level of progress.
While we are legally equal, much work remains as women still face challenges.
Stay tuned. Your gender program 50/50 will be right back. And we are back. This is 50/50.
You are listening to WADR's gender program 50/50. The program is live on 94.9 FM in Dakar, Senegal, Alternative Youth Radio in Lofa County, Liberia, and around the world on WADR.org.
You're welcome back. You're still listening to 50/50 with me, Nadidi Tete. We are also live on Radio Gbaf FM 91.3 in Sierra Leone. Now, for the second part of our show today, we are talking about a recently launched research project in Senegal focused on improving the involvement of rural and peri-urban women in climate change management through empowerment. Now, the project launched in Senegal is a response to the growing need to integrate women, especially those in rural and peri-urban areas, into climate change management. Women in these regions are disproportionately affected by the impact of climate change, as they often depend on natural resources for their livelihoods. However, their voices and leadership in climate action have been largely underrepresented. Once again, my colleague Esuli Jeju interviewed the Executive Director for Natural Justice, Farida Liwa, on the project and what it aims to achieve.
This is a great opportunity for us as an organization, but also with the disaster that we're having with climate change. It's extremely important for us to support and hear and include the voices of women, especially in a country like Senegal.
To what degree are women impacted for this climate change?
Very good question. One of the main concerns we have is that with climate change and especially climate disasters, so we know when there is any sort of climate disaster, whether it is a flood or even if it's drought, women are the ones who are impacted because of their role in the family, in the home. They are usually, in some cases, the ones who are then left to even look for alternatives. You see, when it's water or when if it's food, the responsibility of taking care of the family in most cases is with the woman. So when we do have climate change, it makes it harder on women. In some communities in East Africa, women are also responsible for going to look for water. And I think it's the same even in different parts of West Africa. That also exposes them and puts them in other risks. The more they have to go away from their homes, the more they have to go away from their children, the further they have to go.
They walk a lot.
They walk a lot.
And
some
have
of them,
money.
exactly. It opens up to other dangerous situations. Women can be attacked even as they are going to look for water or food for their families. So this has a huge impact on women. It increases their burden and their role in the home when it comes to issues of climate change.
Okay. How exactly can we involve them in the management of climate change?
The first thing about importance of involving women, but importance of involving anyone affected by climate change is what I've described. To really understand the problem, to really understand what they are experiencing, so that as we're thinking about solutions, it really addresses what their problems are. I think sometimes when we think about climate change, we stop at the environment, but we don't hear and we don't understand the impact on people. And so for natural justice, it's very important for us to understand the impact on people and then to be able to work with them to also understand what is happening, why their lives are impacted by climate change, and then even go further to work with them on the solution.
Esuli also asked whether and how, as an organization, they are able to get the women to appreciate the impact of climate change in their lives.
Exactly, yes. And so that's why when we ask them about how their life has changed, right, then they understand. It's really important. If we are talking about...
Maybe it's a simple thing and can make them to understand.
Exactly. We have to make sure that they understand. We have to break down whatever, these concepts that we talk in workshops or at conferences are very, very complicated, even complicated for us. So you can imagine for the rural woman how they seem very far consequences. and very far explanations. But when we sit down with them and we ask them how their life has changed, if it becomes hotter, if it becomes too cold, if they don't have food, if the crop has failed, if they are farming communities, or if they take care of animals, if the animals are dying, all these are actual consequences of climate change. So when we understand how it has affected their lives, then they start to see that this is what we mean by climate change.
Okay. Now, you also talk about the legal empowerment and of women, of course.
Yes.
Explain to us a little what this legal authorization consists of and how it can help improve the involvement of rural and peri-urban women in the management.
Exactly. So we
Yes.
do know across Africa we now have policies, we now have laws, governments are making all sorts of decisions around climate change. And the importance is because we are saying that women, rural women, peri-urban women, but more generally communities who are affected by climate change have to be part of these decisions. So the legal empowerment is for them to understand their rights, to understand what is happening, and then to also work with them on how they can be involved in these very high-level conversations. So let's say the government is working on a policy on climate change.
Okay.
They're looking at policies around, let's say, restoration, which we know is about regenerating the land or replanting, for example. Or even in some cases, the government wants to do a project that will be in the area of where rural women are or peri-urban, and it will affect their lives. So that legal empowerment is actually just making them understand that they have a right to their land.
Yes.
They have a right to
And
what they are doing.
This is a big problem.
Yes.
I think for all Africa.
Yes, it is
Women have a real problem to have land.
It is a very big problem.
Yes.
So,
and you do what about that?
Yes, land rights is extremely important. Okay. Land rights for local and indigenous communities is even more important because we also know in Africa we have a lot of ancestral land. Okay. Some of this land is not with a title deed. It is passed on from families to families. So protecting those rights are very important. And we come in and we support them to understand that that is their land, that is their right. But we also work with them with the government. So it's not that we are going and attacking the government in all cases, but we want the government to respect them, to respect their land, to respect their rights, to respect that they have a say in how that land is being used, especially because it is the ancestral. It is their heritage, and it's their past and their future.
Also, as an organization, how do they bring the women on board? How do they sensitize them?
We go to the women. In fact, the first thing that we have community legal offices. These are
because it's a rural woman.
Exactly.
Maybe they haven't time to go.
They won't.
And I have plenty things to do. I cannot move.
Exactly. And sometimes they don't even have. It's not even their decision to make.
Okay.
So we make sure that we work with the community, in the community. So we have what we're calling community legal officers. These are people in the community that we train and they live in the community. Then they work with others in the community on the legal empowerment. Okay. So they're actually members of the community. They even understand the context better than we do.
You have the Executive Director for Natural Justice, Farida Liwa, in that interview with my colleague Esuli Jeju. Listeners, we have come to the end of another edition of 50/50. It's been great having you join me. Remember to follow our discussions on X and Instagram at WADR News, on Facebook at West Africa Democracy Radio English Service, and online at wadr.org. Leave me a message via WhatsApp number +221 7818 45421. Again, the number is +221 7818 45421. I am Nadedi Tete. Join me next week for another insightful conversation on 50/50.
We thank you for listening to this program in Liberia on Alternative Youth Radio 98.9 FM, Lufa County, Kwakete Radio 100.9 FM, Baga, Voice of Liberia FM 104.1 Monrovia, DCN Radio 91.3 FM, Riversess. In Sierra Leone, we thank our listeners on Radio Bath 91.3 FM. In the Gambia on New Me FM 94.0 North Bank Region.